We've got a team of fantastic storytellers, food branding experts with us this afternoon. They're going to share some stories like we did last time and some tips and tricks about how to build an amazing brand and get it off the ground and get it to market. And then we'll do questions again, all right? So that's the plan. So we have Kate, who's a freelance journalist, passionate about food and writes for all sorts of different publications. So Kate's going to share her story shortly. We've got Caroline and Simon from Elmwood, branding experts agency, and they're going to do a nice little presentation on how to do it all. And then we've got Greg from Way. So Greg is built his own food business, and the brand's been pretty successful. So we're going to hear Greg's story. But let's start with Kate.
Hello, everyone. You have to excuse me. I'm just off a train, came on the Eurostar this morning. I was foraging for mushrooms in France for a story for Esquire. It's fantastic. I am a travel and a food writer, so it's really great to be here to meet all of you. One thing I will say to you is to get press when you're starting out as a food company is really difficult. I will give you an example. I get about 700 emails a day, and I'm looking for reasons to go, that's a great story, come and talk to me, you look fantastic, and more often than not, I delete because people get things really wrong. And I thought I'd start off on a downer and then come up with a positive, which is you guys have got a great starting point. Number one, you're about food and everybody has to eat. And number two is that you're new and the press loves things that are new. They love those stories. So if you put in your subject line to me, new food company by me, I'd be like, oh, that sounds interesting. I might click on that. So that's really good news. There are three things I look for when I'm looking for a story. Number one is that you taste good. Number two is that you look good. And number three is that you have an interesting story. So number one, I'm kind of figuring you guys have got sorted out. So you've been through your testing, you love how you taste, you're ready to go. I'm happy with that, and then I'll taste it because I like to get things sent to me and I eat a lot. And since I moved from fashion to food, I've put on 2 dress sizes and I'm happy about that. So the looking good is really important as well because even though I'm a writer by trade, I can't tell a story unless what you offer me looks attractive on the page or on a website or on Instagram or on Twitter. So having good images, having a way of making yourself look presentable, yourself including whatever it is that you're selling. And your story has to be relevant to me. And I put out a little thing. We have a freelance women's Facebook group. It's private. It's where we go to help each other out. And I put out a little thing saying, I'm going to go and talk to the Virgin startup at Virgin Food Fest, and I want to know what you think, they should do to get your attention. And I got everything from call me by my correct name. I got called Keith once. Yeah, I get called blogger, writer. It's not fun. It's not professional on your behalf. I got things like, make sure it is targeted to what I write about. And that's one of the things I can tell you is one of the most important things that you can do. Because I don't write much about children. I don't have children. I travel. I go out into factories, or I go to a restaurant and I have a chef teach me how to make something, and then I'll write that story. I get so many faxes, I don't know where that came from, emails and tweets from children's brands, which is fine, as long as there's an angle that I can use. So if you say to me, Kate, I've got this fantastic new yogurt for kids, I'll be like, great, where am I going to write about that? That's not what I write about, that's what I'm interested in, but there are hundreds and hundreds of other journalists that do. But if you came to me and said, Kate, I've got this fantastic yogurt brand, and this is how we make it, and we make it in the hills of Umbria, for example, and we want you to come down next time you're in Italy, I'd be like, that's fantastic, what a great story. Think of the photos, the rustic Italian hills. I did say I just got off a train. Italian hills, that's fantastic. But there'll be other journalists who write for the women's titles, who will write for the children's pages, and they will want those kind of stories. They'll want you to come up with your brand and tell your real story. The other thing I can suggest for you is to have a really good website. I write a lot online and I do a lot of link backs. So if you have a website that is not polished, does not give me the information, does not look good for my readers, I'm not going to send it through to you. I'm not going to hyperlink that into anything that I write. Also, another good reason to have a website is if I'm looking for any information about your brand, I don't then have to call you. It's right at my fingertips, and I can just go there and find out what I need. Social media is really important. If I'm looking at a story and I want to talk to somebody on social media or engage with somebody on social media, it's my first point of call a lot of the time. Also, it's a great way for you to contact journalists. I like getting new followers who want to know about what I write about, who I'm speaking with, what links I'm sharing, and I like to be able to communicate. And if you talk with me on social media, you follow me and you talk with me, I'm likely to follow you back and talk with you back. And I know a lot of freelance journalists are the same because they want the interaction. And don't underestimate online coverage. If someone tweets your brand, Instagrams your brand, does anything like that, that is considered to be coverage, and it's really important. One last thing, if you do have enough money to hire a public relations agency, make sure you choose one that's going to work for you well. I get so many spam emails from PRs who are just told that they can send off an emailer and then they charge you 200 quid for it, or 500 quid, or 1,000 quid a month. Make sure that they're doing a good job. The last thing I would say, I know I'm finishing up, is to say thank you. If you get coverage, drop us an email saying thank you. And now I'd like to say thank you to you for listening to me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. That was fantastic. So we're the lucky ones who don't have inboxes like you. We're the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, you guys.
Okay. I'll stand up, I think. Yeah. Right, I'm Caroline Dillaway. This is Simon Priest. We're from Elmwood. We're a brand design consultancy. We're actually officially the world's most effective brand design consultancy, so you're in good company, and we're in very good company with you guys. We can actually say that because we have won the most awards of any brand consultancy in the world in commercially effective design. So any brand agency, any design agency will be able to create you something that looks lovely. Brilliant. That's great. That's your first thing. But making it commercially effective is really what you want. You don't just want to create something that looks lovely. You need to create something that's going to stand out, that's going to be able to compete against the huge brands that are existing already in the marketplace, with brands that have got relationships with retailers already. They're going to have huge, shelf space that you're just not going to have. Not yet anyway, sort of further down the line, yes, you will. So you need that sort of brand point of view to make you commercially successful. I'm just going to show you we're visual people, so we have to bring a few boards along. So no PowerPoint.
It's hard to talk about a standout brand with actually without anything to show you what standout means.
So this is a guy called Jerry Garcia, not your usual sort of marketing guru. He's not your Philip Kotler that you'll read about in your marketing textbooks. He's actually a bass player from the Grateful Dead. But he said something that we really believe in, and we really hold true to what you need to do to create that commercially successful brand. And that's that it's no longer good enough to be the best of the best. You need to be the only ones who do what you do. So that means that one brand can be the cheapest and one brand can be the most premium. Everybody else needs to have a point of view, and that point of view needs to be distinct, it needs to be unique, it needs to be special and different. It's the thing that is going to make you stand out. Brand is not just the fun stuff, as the guy earlier said. Thank you for that. It's the fundamental stuff. It's the stuff that's really going to set you apart. It's the make or break, to be honest. Having said that, you do absolutely need to have your killer product first. So, brand can only do so much. The brand can get you your first purchase, but it can't kind of create the customers that are going to keep coming back and be your real advocates and actually create you as a standalone brand. You need to have that killer product idea. So once you've got your product, and that's got to be absolutely amazing, you then want to concentrate on your brand. Something else I was actually going to throw in was that your product idea, get some consumer insights. Don't just have that amazing idea and think that, well, I love it, so therefore it's going to fly. It may do, but getting the word out there is only one thing. You need to have that product that consumers will actually agree with you on and is a killer idea. Just quickly, so in the retail environment, There's some scary stats for you. So within a supermarket, you will generally be looking at sort of 25,000 products. Each kind of customer, as you're running around the supermarket sweep style, just grabbing and going with the brands that you recognise, the brands that you recall. You're shopping very much on, shape and colour. If you think of yourself in the supermarket, do you spend hours and hours perusing every aisle, picking up every pack, turning it around, reading the back? I doubt very much that you do. If you do, then you're a fantastic brand consumer. But I doubt very much you do. So every customer really only has a repertoire of about 100 brands that they will sort of interact with. So you need to get your place within that sort of 25,000 versus 100, and you need to stand out to do that.
You've got to cut through. That's the thing, and in that 100, you've either got to kick somebody else out to earn your place in there, or you've got to justify your place for still being in that. So, there is a lot of noise. There is a lot of things to cut through. There's a little bit of the checklist that you need for a perfect brand and for some perfect packaging is written on the back here, just so you've got that.
One we made earlier. From
a brand perspective, you need to do 5 things. You need to have a distinctive point of view. And that is something which is unique to you, which is ownable and a cause, if you like. We were talking to the guy from Jim Jams earlier, Kevin. You've got to have a cause. You've got to have a point of difference. You need a distinctive and authentic attitude, a way of behaving that is different from somebody else. Because you've got to stand out. You've got to cut through. And you have to make your story, and you'll hear a lot of people talk about story. As again, Kate said there, story is, you've got to make it sticky. You've got to have that ability to get into your head because consumers don't care. Yeah, we are out there as people. We shop by instinct, shape, and colour, as Caroline said. We only, on average, read 7 words in a supermarket trip. Everything else is instinctive. So you've got to think about, again, from a consumer perspective, there's 3 things to think about. What do I see? What does it make me feel? And what do I need to do as a result of that? If you've got a product, a brand, or a service, what do those things do? What do I see? What does it make me feel? And what do I do as a result of it? Sticky story, you've got to tell it simply. You're really passionate about what you have, the story that you've got to tell. The consumer really isn't interested. But you've got to tell that story in a very simple and engaging way. And you need to be iconic. Yeah? There are lots and lots of people. There are lots of jams out there. There is lots of provenances everywhere. Everybody's got a story to tell. How do you do it in a simple and iconic way? You need to create iconic assets, things that are different. Coca-Cola has iconic assets. The red bottle, the bottle shape, the bottle top, the red colour, the dynamic contour wave, the logo style, things that can be used elsewhere in your marketing communications that mean that it's recognisably you. From a pack point of view, when I'm in the store, I have to do 4 things. I need to stop you because I've got to break the autopilot. What do I do? How do I stand out? How do I disrupt? First thing is stop. Engage. Yep. Is it different? Is there something that's intriguing about it? Because if it's intriguing, I'm more interested. I'll take a step closer to it on the shelf. I've got to be attractive. There's got to be something sensorially, aesthetically, or emotionally that appeals to it. Because that way I'll take that next step to it and I'll pick it up. And once you pick it up, you're halfway to the sale. And once you've picked it up, you need to reassure. That's the right product for me. That is something which price or emotion, whatever it is, makes me put it in the basket. So they're the key things that you need to do. And every product, every brand needs to do all of those things in one way or another. You dial up various aspects of it. And if I can give you an example of that, this is not food, but this is possibly the most boring brief that ever came into our studio. A guy walked in and said, I work for Envirotech, which is a septic tank emptying business. So basically, if you're not connected to the sewage system, it's all about emptying poo and wee. If you pollute the water course and you don't empty the tanks properly, you can be fined £20,000 or you're persistent offending it and get a jail term. We said that's serious shit. So we renamed the business Serious. We can pass these round, but the guys on the tankers who drive it feel more like Ghostbusters than they do, sort of tanker drivers. It got publicity. Publicity is difficult to get. If you're in the worldwide publicity business, Sunday Times, New York Times, 200% brand increase in sales. It's effective from the moment it lands on somebody's shelf as a tender. A brown and green envelope stands out. So we can just pass those round. To stop, Gressingham, a small farming business in Norfolk, was invisible in the supermarket shelves. Its business was declining at 14%, but its product is brilliant. As you said, the product's got to be good. So, but people don't know what to do with duck. Duck was lost in an aisle of chicken. So what we had to do was just make it visible. What we did was create a very simple, iconic graphic that stood out and was noticed. People don't read the word duck, so we made the duck visible within the Gressingham G. You create that symbol, stand out in that wall of chicken in a supermarket. There are lots of other things that we do within that. It's a world of rectangular labels, so we made a curved one because actually that visually disrupts on the shelf, so it stands out. In the first year, without any marketing support, just a product that's visible on the shelf, minus 14% to 47% sales increase. £10 million on the bottom line.
I think we'll probably just show you
one more.
One more, yeah.
One more. Saucy Fish. A brand that's gone from 0 to now 60 million in its third year. Again, meeting a consumer need. People don't know what to do with fish. They don't know what sauces to go with it. The simple idea was we put sauce and fish together. But all of that fixture was all about white trays and white fish on a white supermarket shelf that was stood on its side. What we did was think differently, put the sauce and the fish together. Everybody likes to feel a bit like Jamie Oliver when they're doing it, eating their tea. So actually we thought about it, merchandise it portrait, think like an artist, display the food beautifully, make it stand out.
I think the other thing to add to that as well is your brand is very much your sort of protection. So, people can copy your product after a certain amount of time. But we reckon it's about 6 months' time. You've got, as maybe the only ones actually doing what you do in terms of your product. So your brand, as long as you've created that standout, single-minded point of view for your brand, that cannot be copied.
There have been 30 copies of this. 6 months is all you've got in terms of your idea to protect it before the retailers do it or somebody else copies it. And that's about it. Okay.
That's brilliant. I know you've got loads.
Yeah.
That's fine. There are a load of brilliant examples to kick off with, but we want to give time for questions.
Of course we do.
So thank you. Now we've got someone who's actually doing it himself. Greg, love to hear your story.
Cool. First of all, where the F were you guys 2 years ago? When we started in our flat with an ice cream maker that all was effectively motivated from getting sick and tired of food companies, I won't mention any in particular, but not being truthful with their messaging. So I basically came home to my parents. One of them is type 2 diabetic. My dad was literally ramming a 500 milliliter tub of frozen yogurt into his mouth, thinking this is wonderful for me. It's fat-free and it's low in calories. So I turned the pack over, I showed him the sugar content. He then said, oh, it comes from natural sugars. What are you talking about? It's good for me, it's natural. I then tried to educate him about the effects of high fructose corn syrup, the fact that agave nectar is rebranded high fructose corn syrup. Anyway, after having this massive argument with him and eventually convincing him not to eat this stuff, I then went about myself with my business partner, Damien, into creating a frozen dessert that was genuinely healthy for you. So Wei is a high-protein, genuinely sugar-free, all-natural product. It's also gluten-free. We're stocked in Whole Foods, Ocado, moving into Waitrose soon, Holland & Barrett, GNC. We distribute internationally into GCC, into Scandinavia. And that's all off the back of 2 years of sweat, hard work, and persistence. So in terms of where we've come from, I guess, we did, just like you said there earlier, about starting with £100 in your back pocket and starting this. How did it taste?
Delicious.
There you go. Bit of consumer insight for you. Yeah, so we effectively did the exact same thing. We were in a cinema. We saw a giant line for a brand that I won't talk about of 100 people long and thought, Jesus, there's a complete niche in the market here. There's high-protein smoothies, high-protein shakes, high-protein bars, cakes, whatever else, but no one's ever done an ice cream. And along with that, obviously, people eat ice cream in the evening, so we didn't want to have any sugar in there either. And we didn't want it to be artificial, so we used xylitol instead of aspartame or anything else dodgy like that. So from there, we went about developing a brand, which we had no idea about. Myself and Damien have our qualifications are in physiology. So we basically, I borrowed a copy of Photoshop and Illustrator from a friend, borrowed, and then Went onto YouTube and started with tutorials. Literally went through about 20 tutorials. I can't remember the name of the guy, but I'll put it on Twitter and stuff after this, who's amazing. He gives you like the 20 basic steps of how to use Illustrator, how to use Photoshop. Because we've always gone by, effectively, no matter how brilliant your vision is of what you're doing, if that's not communicated to the consumer, it's not brilliant. It's only as brilliant as your consumer sees it. So if your consumer doesn't see it, it doesn't matter how wonderful the ideas are in your head. And that's where it becomes so difficult for you, because I don't know how many people in here have a design background. I didn't have a design background, a digital design background, and it costs so, no offense, but it does cost a lot of money to go and visit these people. No, absolutely. I completely agree. So we've actually just gone through, if you want to check out our website, we've just been through a rebranding process where we have forked out a substantial amount of money, but as a result, the impact that we've had is phenomenal. So yeah, hope I recovered there. So where was I? Yeah, so literally starting it in a bedroom and developing a brand, and just trying desperately to communicate what it is in your head that for your consumers to be able to see exactly what you see, which is where it again comes down to everything relates back where you guys are into sweat and persistence. Like you've got to beg, borrow, and steal. So it's literally from friends, from family, because everything has to come for free, unfortunately. So it's whoever has the most determination wins. And as you said just then, you've got 6 months to make your stand before someone else copies you. We've now got a copycat in Australia, in Russia, one in Finland as well. We're planning on moving into obviously ourselves, but it just gives you a fire up your ass to say, okay, obviously I've got a good idea here. I need to, rocket fuel it forward. So yeah, I mean, I guess you probably guys want to probably answer questions, and these guys are the people to ask, not me. So yeah, I'm Greg, and nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Greg. That's really inspiring to hear that story. And so I got one quick question, and I'd love to throw it out there. Current favorite food brand startup and why? Jump in, whoever's got one.
Current favourite, right, okay.
There's too many of them.
There's so many.
There's lots. I mean,
The Marshmallowists.
Tell us about them.
They make marshmallows. Is anyone here from them today?
I saw them in the paper the other day.
They're amazing. They a bit like the Merengue Girls. They saw that there was a bit of a space in the market, and everyone likes marshmallows. They make them in their kitchen I think in the north of England, and bring them down to food festivals in London and all over the UK, and sell them online. And they're really expensive, and they're really delicious, and they look great, and the story's nice. They've done really well.
Any others?
well, controversial, but I'd be Heck sausages. And that's because actually, I saw a TV program that I thought, I don't think you actually know what you're talking about, guys. That product is very, very successful. It has listings in Waitrose, in Tesco's, and it broke every rule in the market, so it stands out and it does well. I know the guys that own it, and they were just looking for the media publicity. So,
So you saw them where? On what?
It was on TV recently.
On Dragon's Den
yeah.
or on a?
No,
Yeah, I'll fix it.
So bad PR's become good PR.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it's worth pointing out that they were Debbie and Andrew.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, we created the original Debbie and Andrews
Did you?
sausages. Yeah.
That
So
story.
we made them the 20 million the first time round.
Well, they thought to do what they're doing without looking to maybe.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting how you look at the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about anything you said.
It's about attitude. It's about standout. It's about, yeah.
Good example.
Suspect.
Greg, have you got a favourite other than your
I
own
do.
business?
Yeah, I've had enough time now. I won't plug my own business. So for us, we built our whole brand on social media. Well, by built a brand, you don't build a brand on social media, but built our method of communication. Like we literally, if you tweet us now, I guarantee you, I hope so, you'll get a tweet back within the next sort of minute and a half. Like we're so social and so on it 24/7, because normally the question is, where do I get a tub of your ice cream? I'm in Oxford Street, help me out. So you've got to be on there 24/7. Anyway, so the companies that are absolutely killing that whole area for me are Marmite, Cadbury's Cream Egg, and Oreo cookies. Those three on social media are absolutely amazing. If you get a chance to look at them, like their basic case studies, like Oreos, when the Super Bowl lights went out, I don't know if any of you have seen that story. Yeah, the lights went out at the Super Bowl. They literally banged a picture up there saying dunking in the dark. And it went absolutely mad. That was literally the most successful, I don't know, tweet post ever. But yeah, so social media, those 3 brands, we don't copy them, but we, we look at them all the time and see what they're doing.
So that's something to aim for, and they've got the resources, but they still
course.
execute. Two of my favourites, the grassroots side, are the Thoughtful Bread Company in Bath. They started their business by writing a book that they self-published called Bread Revolution, and then they started their bakery off the back of that, and that, as a result, it's got a completely different story to every other bakery out there. And the Posh Pasty Company in Cornwall, they're reinventing the pasty story, and they're doing really well with it. You've already had one. I'm going to move to this person first. Here you go for it.
Hi, I'm Charlie Dickinson from Design to Eat. We specialise in cakes that are dairy-free, sugar-free, gluten-free, wheat-free, egg-free, soy-free, corn-free, yeast-free. We take all the rubbish out and leave the good taste, basically. I just want to say, I tweeted, and Virgin StartUp have just beaten you to it. They retweeted and shared, so shame.
How long has it been up for?
About 30 seconds.
Okay.
Oh.
Hang on, can I defend for a second?
No.
So today is Way Hey Wednesday, so we do a big Facebook post, so our 2 guys are probably busy on that.
And Greg is also the social media.
And yeah, I'm like that.
We'll let you off.
Cheers.
I agree with you on the agave syrup, and we don't use any of the such sorts because it is a bit of...
Poison.
Yeah. Am I right to say 2 questions?
One question. One fast question.
Okay. We have all our cakes, but we started off as a food blog, and so I write for a few magazines, but I want to push it more and do more. How would you suggest getting into more magazines and writing for other people?
You want to write for them? Or you want someone like me to write about you?
Both.
Okay. I would suggest, if you want to write, I would suggest blogging for free for the Huffington Post, because do you know about that?
Yeah.
They accept people blogging for them, and they give you a really good exposure, and they support you on social media, which is great. And if you want to get coverage, I would opt for online coverage first over print. Print is really difficult. It's difficult for me to sell to print as well, because they have a lot of staff in-house and they have a lot of long lead times. So I would do something like, or do you bake the cakes yourself?
I have been, but we've expanded that quickly that we now work with another company.
But could you invite people to come in and see your process, talk through your story, that kind of thing? I would do a very kind of targeted media event.
Okay,
people like to see it.
Is that in the paper or online?
Either.
Okay.
But
so
how
would you do that online?
I would just target the journalists who you wanted to talk to. So have a look at people who write similar stories. Like me, I would write a similar story like that.
Okay.
And then just invite them. Just set up a little invitation. I can talk to you about that after.
Oh, thank you.
Live stream from your kitchen.
Yeah. Exactly.
My name's Donna from No Added Salt. We have produced a very healthy range of ready meals for children. For very similar reasons to you, we started. Clever packaging and hiding what was actually in food really annoyed me when I was shopping for my twins. So I thought, right, sod this, I'm going to do it myself then. And that's what we've done. We've launched into nurseries and we're starting with the schools, but we'd like to approach retailers. And one of the things I'm coming up against is how to really get our message across that we are breaking the mould and that we're introducing something new into the market. You've obviously done that, so how did you manage to get them to listen to you and take you seriously?
So we're also stocked in some NHS wards, and it took about 8 months. So I'll start with one of our main retailers that we really wanted to get into. The most frustrating thing in the world is having one person stand in the way of you getting into a store that is access to 50,000 people, or however many the demographic is. If that one person doesn't understand your message, i.e. for us, if they don't understand not necessarily the importance of protein in the diet, but the consumer need that we're aiming at, and that they would love a sugar-free protein ice cream, if they don't get that, there's not really much you can do other than absolutely demolish their email inbox with information as to what you're doing and how you're changing the world. But in terms of getting into the NHS, onto their wards, it's really standing behind consistently exactly what is in your product, explaining to them 24/7, as I said, every week, telling them about a new ingredient that you might be coming out with, a new product you might be coming out with, and why it's good for them. It's all about persistence, unfortunately.
and people think about trying to approach the retailers, trying to get through, trying to get that break to meet the buyer, think about it in a very similar way. If you get, there's no point in sending an email because you've got 700 emails in the inbox. Do something different, do something disruptive. Actually, just send a letter, because they don't get any anymore.
We wrote a poem to Ocado. Just sorry, I should have mentioned that. So I hand-delivered a poem with a Weihe wax stamp on it and delivered it to her.
I think she might be sitting at the back there as Rope's working here.
Even better, handwrite it.
Did she write you one back? Did you
No, she called me though.
Yeah. Another question. I'm going to squeeze a few in.
Hi, Caroline. I've noticed you got a board. I do tea in a stick, a new concept, and rather than a messy tea bag.
Yes, we
Could you
say that earlier.
I was quite intrigued about the story behind the builders.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could take us through it.
Yeah, well, we, rather than just being people who colour in and tell you what to do with it, we brought a product to market. We're the only consultancy who's ever brought a product to market and put our money where our mouth is. So we've done it, and we've done it for a reason, in a category that's had no innovation, in a category where we can't spend any money. So we've done it to walk in the shoes. So we've got the bumps and bruises of everyday life. We know what it's like to take 4 years to bring a product to market, to get the right margin, to try and get it listed, to have one of the major manufacturers pay 100 grand to get you delisted. So even when you've got in the listing, remember you are vulnerable because people will actually want to take you out.
And that retailer was actually one of our big clients at the time. So that was
actually, you know, you have to think differently, you have to think creatively, and you have to stand out. So we haven't got a big marketing budget to spend against Tetley, but actually it's hard work. It's an attitude thing, and it's, you know, what we had as a point of difference was a really great tasting tea, but also it was research with builders. It has a purpose beyond price. So it funds new apprenticeship schemes for builders, because your average builder's age is about 58. So, you know, there are no apprentices in that business. So it's actually about having a whole idea and a standout that works from one product that sits on shelf. Think about new channels. There was no food products in DIY superstores. This was the first product to go in DIY or builders merchants. Don't think about the natural channels and streams. Think about things differently. So, yeah, and it takes a long time to be successful. You can get it in most of the major retailers now, Morrison's, Asda, Cardo, Wickes, you know, DIY, so all sorts of people.
Great example, thank you. Got time for one or two more, yes.
Hi there, my name's Anna. I'm from a company called Happy Mackie. I run a street food company that sells freshly rolled to order sushi wraps. Greg, I think you've actually tried them.
Yeah, I have. They're amazing.
This question is for yourself, actually. Kind of done a year's trading and coming to a bit of a crossroads as to whether to turn the business vegan or keep selling meat options. Now, the main ethos behind the company is that it's all fish-free sushi, because sushi is actually seasoned rice. It's nothing to do with raw fish. So it's showing people that you don't have to have farmed salmon, farmed prawns, and tuna when you have the sushi. Now, you don't have any, am I correct in saying that, or any of your products vegan?
So every trade show, is that the question?
Yes.
Okay,
well,
so every
part.
trade show that we do, I will interact probably with, I apologize to any vegans that are in the room, but I'll have 3 very angry vegans come up to me and tell me that I'm slaughtering cows. No, seriously, and you know, and it hits you hard, and it makes you think, shit, should I go back to the drawing board and completely re-engineer my product? But you just got to remind yourself of why you started it, the very basic core reasons as to why I started it. I remembered why I started it. You know, I went in and I saw my dad eating what he was eating. And so I went away and I made what I made. And at no point in that journey did I ever think about the vegan market. So I would never change course based on, it depends again how much of, I don't know how many people are approaching you and saying, I want vegan, I want vegan, I want vegan. It might be worth, and it's unfortunate, but you might have to do some market research, which is a crap answer because it's boring as hell, but.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether it was an option for you to bring out a vegan alternative.
It is an option for us, so we can use rice and pea protein instead of whey protein.
But I'm from a sports science background as well, similar to physiology, and I've been doing a lot of research, like post-degree, on good proteins, acidity, issues with milk and dairy, and it just seems to be a bit of, it's almost like my heart's saying, this is the right thing to do, although 90% of the population won't understand or won't agree.
Exactly.
It's that hard,
so
which direction you go in.
Myself and Dave just made another product as well, which is our high-protein coconut water. It's called Cocoa Pro. If you want to check it out, it's drinkcocopro.com. It launches in 2 weeks. which is going to be very successful, I hope. But anyway, so we had the decision with that. It was either whey protein or rice and pea protein combined. So very, very quickly, proteins are made up of amino acids. The reason why certain proteins are better than others is because they don't have the full spectrum of amino acids. Whey protein isolate is like the king of proteins because it has all of the amino acids. However, the combination of rice and pea protein together matches whey protein to a lesser or certain extent. So we were faced with the, do we use rice and pea combo or do we use whey protein? Yeah. Yeah.
That's not vegan.
It's not. Yeah, but it's so that in terms of veganism, it wouldn't. Yeah, but
Loving the protein chat.
Sorry.
But I just want to know, what did you go for in the end?
What did you do?
Did you
We went with whey because whey is an established industry, and it's nowhere near big enough, and you have to re-educate everyone on this really small niche, honestly. So we went with.
Sorry, that's a great word, because somebody mentioned the word niche earlier. Niche is niche for a reason. It means small.
Exactly.
And it's great if you've got some way of reaching, but you need to reach all of those people. Yeah. So it's there for a reason. Niche can be a very, very narrow road to go down. So it comes with a warning statement as well. You've got to be able to reach all of those people.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a brilliant lead-in to my question. I'm now, and I'm introducing Ghanaian ready meals. And whilst I'm trying to get into the stores, I'm also doing that as street food, selling it at food fairs and food festivals. And Ghanaian food is very similar to Malaysian or Chinese food, and I know that world foods is big now. But one of the questions that keeps coming up as I'm trying to brand is people don't know Ghanaian food. And I'm targeting the British consumers who so far really like it when I sell it at the street fairs. So my question is, how do you balance communicating to people who've never heard of it, who want, they would like it because of the kinds of food they already eat. But then how do you balance branding that messaging with all the other things that you want to emphasize as a brand? So educating versus building a brand.
I'm sure Simon will probably want to build on this, but I would say you want to keep it very, very simple. Don't try and communicate everything that you're going to say within your brand. You'll have, a whole marketing mix of communication sort of medium to be able to do that. What you want is your brand to be very simple, very straightforward, with a single point of view, and let the education piece come off the back of that. Yeah. So you want to be that sort of single-minded brand will ultimately then become synonymous with what it stands for and what it means. You can shape an entire category that way. Hence the duck example. It's a long way down the road, and you need the whole mix to be able to do it. But I would just keep your brand very, very simple and very straightforward with that single point of view.
Your story. What are you providing? What is Ghanaian food doing? Because it's taken 40 years for Mexican food to be an overnight success.
That story is gold to me. Absolute gold. Yeah, because it's a travel and a food angle, and it's a new thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Come and see me. I will.
Brilliant. We're going to have to stop there. I love Ghanaian food, by the way, so I'm all over it. Yeah, it's fantastic. So you've got an audience. I want to say a huge thank you to the four here, Kate, Caroline, Simon, and Greg, for some amazing stories, huge insights, and they complemented each other perfectly. So, and thanks for your questions. We're back here in 10 minutes for the next session on getting to market. So see you then. Thank you, guys.